And I think that, could be one of the topics that could help in this particular circumstance, so that we get a better understanding of what the public would be interested in.
So that ends the question period based on the previous presentations. According to the panel's public hearing procedures, persons not previously registered might be granted an opportunity to make a brief oral statement at the end of the hearing day, time permitting. This opportunity is limited to individuals who did not previously register to participate and have not filed a written submission. The Secretariat staff have informed me that we have Mr. Joseph Leung here, who is asked to make a brief statement. So we do have a bit of time. Thank you for waiting to the very end of the day. So you have 10 minutes. Please proceed.
Madame Swanson, la présidente et membres du panel, merci pour votre opportunité. My name is Joseph Leung, and I come from the municipality of Meaford in Grey County, which is part of the Great Lakes. This is for long-term thinking, food for thoughts. Since the conception of nuclear experiment at Ralston, Chalk River, Ottawa, in the 40s, we have not given serious consideration to nuclear waste. I trust this panel will do just the opposite. From a legal perspective, 3 agreements with the United States. Boundary Water Treaty, 1909. Second, a key environmental event in Canada, the Basel Convention on Control of Transboundary Movements of Hazardous Waste and their Disposal, ratified by Canada August 28, 1992. The conditions: parties may not carry out or authorize transboundary movements, import, export, transit of hazardous waste or hazardous recyclable materials to states that are not parties to the convention, unless they have a bilateral agreement under Article 11. Such is the case with Canada and United States agreement. Third, a key obligation is the North American Free Trade Agreement, NAFTA, and its companion, the Commission of Environment Cooperation, CEC. Their mandate is to address regional environmental concern and trade conflicts. Since OPG have mentioned expansion plans for the DGR, question for low and intermediate level waste. I heard it was 20%. Since US Yucca Mountain DGR is closed after 9 years of construction, since Gentilly 2 in Quebec was closed in December 2012, and Quebec government has put $1.2 billion for decommissioning, and they have not chosen a site yet. Since 2014, early this year, the US government have asked Japan to send all their nuclear waste to the US after 3,000 communities were solicited to host a DGR. All declined. The reason the United States wanted to have the waste in here, they didn't want the waste to get into the hands of not so good people. My question, is it possible that the US in the future, nuclear waste might end up in Canadian soil?
Mr. Leung, I do have to interrupt you now.
Thank you.
You were apparently informed the Secretariat that your brief statement would be with respect to at least one of our 6 hearing subjects.
Yeah.
Would you please explain to me which of the subjects this is actually addressing?
Expansion.
Expansion for low and intermediate level waste?
Yes, because in history, I think Canada has been exporting our waste to the Michigan. So I'm talking about NAFTA, so that there's a possibility that company to company that they might ask in the future, I said, if we do have a DGR, they might ask the same favor. I don't know. I see it that way.
Very well. If I could ask you to, you've made your point, just to wrap up very quickly then,
Yes,
please.
thank you very much. I have 5 minutes, it says in here. Sorry. I'll touch on the WIP now. WIP DGR is carved in salt deposit. Southwestern Ontario has many salt caverns. Is our DGR subjected to salt deposit? Carlsbad, New Mexico, this is from the web, I don't know how good it is. 1 mile from the boundary of the WIP, fracking is happening. And there are companies testing fracking or talking about fracking around Collingwood and also in Kincardine. In 1988, Ontario Hydro recommended the stable granite of the Canadian Shield away from large population and Great Lakes. That's why uranium, thorium, rare earth, uranium TH-232 is found there, not here. To close, I would like to inform the panel that the municipality of Meaford, after I have deputated last month, 7-0, they've decided to pass a resolution to join those 50 counties and municipalities around the Great Lakes in Canada and United States. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Leung. We have one more item, a very quick one to deal with before we adjourn today. Mr. Hatton?
Yes, I thought I could just answer one of the earlier questions about the waste acceptance criteria. The question was where in the documentation it could be found. So in the preliminary safety report, section 5.5, page 268, you'll find the waste acceptance criteria. And there's also a summary table, table 4.5.1-3 in volume 1 of the EIS.
Thank you very much, Mr. Haddon. We understand that there are also further comebacks of information from both OPG and CNSC, but given the time, I would suggest we deal with those right away in the morning. Ms. Swamy, just one little one then?
Lori Swamy, for the record, only because some of our experts won't be here tomorrow morning, and if I could answer one of the questions, I will ask Dr. Brett and Dr. Evans to provide, they're still there, to provide the information. There was a question about the availability of oxygen with respect to zirconium. I provided some of the information earlier, but I didn't address that specific point, and if I could ask them to address that very briefly, I'd appreciate it.
Yes, of course. Please go ahead.
Yes, Dave Evans for the record. Yes, this is in follow-up to Dr. Muick's question about the availability of oxygen and the extent of consumption of zirconium in the pressure tube waste containers. The calculations show that the amount of oxygen in the pressure tube waste container could oxidize slightly less than 0.1% of the available zirconium in that container.
Dr. Archibald, did you have any follow-up to that? Is that sufficient, Dr. Muick? We think so. So thank you very much. We'll adjourn for today, and we'll see you all tomorrow at 9.